And right on the money as always. Always on right on timing. Our man Daniel Georgievski, who played for Stuka Bucharest in the Champions League, also played an A-League superstar, played for Wanderers, Melbourne Victory, Melbourne City, and of course now he's joined in the media circus like all of us and on TV with the A-League and doing a funny show in the Wrap, which we were all been enjoying and glad that it's been signed up for another season. Daniel, good evening.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It's been a while, Trevor.
It's been a while. Been a while. I've been still following you on TV, mate, and I caught you on Champagne Football a couple of weeks ago. I really enjoyed that segment when you were on there as well. It was great work.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Problem was they put Zorko Kalic in front of me after I said, guys, just do a full stop and that's it. I go, how can I compare to this bloke talk about Ancelotti and R9 and then I'm going to talk about anything else other than that. So yeah, it was a good show. It was a good reminder. These things just remind you of what you accomplished back in the day. Even though mine was 3-4 years ago, but still, it's nice that you can still bring something to the table where people can learn from, or even just grasp a little percentage out of it and probably take it into their careers.
100%. Daniel, we were just speaking. We just seen Melbourne City win the A-League Grand Final. It was a great victory from them after all the injuries and turmoil they had during the season. They won it. Friday night, we've seen at Marvel Stadium Wrexham playing Melbourne Victory. Tomorrow they're playing Sydney FC, then Wellington Phoenix. What do you think of these games when these big clubs coming down here? It's something, I mean, a lot of talk already that Melbourne Victory couldn't play their best team and a lot of academy players were playing. But I think for the purpose of it, it's still something that we need in this country.
100%. You're looking for another audience. People that just want to watch football all the time. They aren't NRL or AFL heads. They just want to watch more football, and it's great that they are coming out here. Obviously, the organisers are doing great. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work with the A-League system because I think their season starts in October, so you're not really going to get many fit boys coming back or even ready for that game. But again, if there's no audience, they wouldn't do it. So obviously, it's great that obviously a big club due to Netflix and whatever with Wrexham and the superstar celebrities having them out here and just people seeing them other than watching them on Netflix is actually it's great. It's good to see.
You've been doing the show The Wrap, which it's a beautiful, funny show. It's excellent. We get to watch it, and it's been part of part of the A-League furniture now. How have you enjoyed it, and how did it come about?
The warm up here was just coincidental, actually. So Nick Stoll, I did when I was at Wanderers, I did an SBS thing with him himself. He was a producer, and Lucy Zelic. And funny enough, when my son was born, he was at St. Leonard's, so next to SBS. And the day after he was born, I saw him there at the coffee shop just randomly. And he was the one that told me that SBS and football are parting ways. And it was actually quite depressing, knowing that we're all from SBS world and growing up with it. And I was like, oh, my son was born yesterday. But as a football fan in SBS, it was kind of depressing anyway. And then we followed each other on Instagram and whatnot. And then come October time, obviously before the A-League starts, you get a lot of people ask you to go on their shows and, just hype up the A-League. And obviously in that space of a week before the season starts or the season of, you get, these requests. And then he messaged me, he goes, we've got a little something happening. Do you want to come have a chat? And I go, yeah, look, no worries. I'll come on. Have a meeting, and it was him and Tana, and we're just having a chat. And they go, look, we've got the analysis show, we've got this show in Melbourne, we've got that show. It's all football. I go, we're looking for something different. And I go, what kind of different? And then I think Tana goes, I don't know if it's a correct word, but idiocy. And I went, mate, you got the man for the job. Let's figure it out, because there was something that goes, look, I did follow you on Paramount Plus and everything I was doing and all the other stuff in my past at Wanderers and even at Victory, and it was like, let's reach another audience. And I think that's what the A-League, I've always wanted it. I was always a massive Matty Johns fan back in the day in RL, and obviously what content he did you can't do today. Obviously we bring back the Biff and whatnot, but this was kind of an angle that works for my character, the type of person that I am, and what I actually like watching. and I think a lot of them is a majority. So things that just kind of happen, I guess, things from the past, they set me up a lot. They don't tell me what the hell. Like now, what are we talking about? I don't know. We'll figure it out. But I guess to put it into context, it's about 30-minute show that we record, and only 8 to 9 minutes is allowed to be shown. So
Wow.
I think with the editing team, they're absolutely amazing, and just what we talk about, and just I guess they just want to see what kind of stupid reaction I have on my face majority of the time, and just yeah, it's all genuine. It's all just let's give it a go, and let's reach an audience that maybe fans they want it, and again, it's something different.
No, it's definitely needed, and whatever we can bring different interests, different people to the A League, we definitely need it. Now, I was going to ask you because you played in the A League, you also played overseas, you've played represented the Republic of Macedonia, you've done all that. Now you've stepped in the media and you're looking back. How have you looked at the A League now that you're back, just sitting back? How did you find the progression this year? I thought the game's starting to progress, especially on the pitch. I thought we had some very good quality games, and again now we've seen a lot of players are starting to move abroad again. So I think we're gaining again momentum in the A League.
Oh, look, we were going for the approach of when I came to the A League. I would say 10 years ago, it was at the height.
Yeah,
We even did an interview with you boys back then, that long ago,
yeah,
Jesus, a decade ago. And I think it was a different angle, and it was just I think I was it was a peak of the A League, peak of audience, peak of Fox Sports was the head coverage of the time, and then I think it just started to kind of derail. I know I watch your show as well, and I know Tony Rallis loves to throw in a quick whip or two about it, and he's very strong, and he obviously has a lot of backing of what he says, and it's a full stop. So from then till now, obviously COVID had hit, but even before COVID hit, you can kind of see it declining, I guess would be the correct word for it. I think just there was always talk about money, there was always talk about a new TV rights still. I know even back when I was at Victory, I think it was the second or third year, Channel 10 were interested, and then they went into administration from memory. So it was kind of like I was finding out about football, but not the things that I cared about. It was all more negativity. And I think it was driving for a long, long time. And now, obviously, COVID had hit, which the whole world had to stop. And then, obviously, the whole new TV rights still and all this stuff. And honestly, it's actually heading in an angle where I think Australia should have been for a long time, which is develop the youth and sell them. The reason why I sell them is because of the funding. Obviously, you guys know more than me, and obviously, there is money in the league. Obviously, not as much as what everyone thinks. But again, this new model. We're looking at the new Socceroos. I think that's what every league does. I think there was something I saw the other day where it was how many local players play in the big teams, and I think Spain is number one with Atletico Club and Barcelona. Or they have the most Spanish players in
players.
their league, in
Yeah.
their teams, and then you wonder why Spain is so strong. So I think Australia have probably fallen into it. But that's what they should be looking at, and obviously, players going overseas, playing more than 25 games at the A League, gives them, playing twice a week gives you a whole different type of game. I was used to that every 3 games a week. You would say 3 days and 7 days. It was part of the norm, and that will make the player much much better. And if you have a whole stack of players that are doing that, that's that new generation for the Socceroos. So if that's the angle that we've kind of fallen ourselves into as the A League. Why not? Because 25 games compared to 50 in a year, that's only going to get better and better for Australian Socceroos. That's just my view, I guess. But yeah.
We've got Andy was going to get into it as well because we've seen a lot of people now discussing, Bozza, a few others on different shows now discussing about should the A League be moved and lined up with the NPL competition, and we've got the B League Championship starting at the end of this NPL season as well, which is going to be interesting. What would I suppose we spoke about it a little bit just before. Daniel was saying, I suppose the objective would be nice for the A League and NPL to be played at the same time, just like the rest of the rest of the world. But I suppose Australia's a little bit different in logistics. We've got AFL, we've got the NRL, we share grounds. Our travel is a lot longer than a lot of other places as well. What are your thoughts? Do you think that the A League should still stay separate in the summer comp and be by itself, like, just be by themselves, or you think one day it should line up with the NPL systems here in like the rest of the world?
As an ex-player, I hated playing in 40-degree heat. So I think that there is the biggest negative. I think that's one of the biggest cons, I guess, the fact you have to play in such hot weather. I know we, compared to Europe, tried to, obviously playing over Christmas, New Year, and that whole, logistics will always be like that. But I always say, look, this stadiums of 10, 15, 20,000. That's all you need. That's the atmosphere. In my eyes, like Amy Park, well, one of my favourite was Cooper's and Adelaide because it was so small, but not like disrespectfully. It just created an amazing atmosphere. And obviously, every time I went there, they hated me with Victory and even with Wanderers. So I didn't care about that. I looked at it as a broader, a small stadium can bring that atmosphere. That is what you want, not a 50, 60,000 stadium when you've got a third full and you can barely hear anybody. It's not what this league is going with. It's not the code for it. Australia doesn't have the culture for doing that other than a Sydney, Melbourne derby, I guess. But a smaller stadium, more of those. And you can do it through the winter and you actually see better quality of football. No, when I played overseas, and I'll compare it because I played overseas and yeah, it was in the snow, but mate, once you're warmed up, you can run all day. I never had to do so many hydrolytes and piss tests before games or during the week just because your body was always going to be dehydrated. So that for me as an ex-player, players will agree with me, mate. It's tops. Um, but I guess it's a bigger. You're comparing it to two codes that don't want the A League to prevail and to be number one, which it will never be. And I think soccer in this country is not fighting to be number one.
No.
So I think just us being us scares everybody. It's a sleeping giant, as I always will call it, soccer, because it is a world game. But again, we're not here to try to compete against them. We're just trying to sell players, create a bigger league. Yes, it's winter, but better for the league, better for everybody. And then Christmas and New Year, you can go for a holiday. I think that there is the biggest selling point. But then obviously talk about funding and whatever it may be. But who cares? We're not competing against anyone. We're just doing our own thing. And I think if everyone lets it be, it can be huge.
Yeah, Daniel, it's interesting you mentioned that about the heat because I brought this subject up with Chubba off air because I did hear Bozza on his show on SEN last week mention that every time he speaks to a professional or ex-professional player, the first thing he gives them the option of playing in a summer comp or in 40-degree heat as you described it, or in a stadium that isn't that crash hot, but it only holds 5 or 10,000. And he said every single player chose that option as what you've just mentioned about playing in a smaller stadium in winter, and not in the peak of summer in 40-degree heat. So I think it's a conversation that we said it comes up all the time, but yeah, it just doesn't seem to gain any other momentum, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, Boz is a big advocate for it. And I see him quite regularly nowadays, obviously doing the academy and the private sector part. And he does say it, and I go, look, I'm always back. I think he even said it back when he was at Fox Sports, to be honest. Why not even try to do this? And look, when I came to the A League, I couldn't understand why I have to wear sunscreen before a game. It was just bizarre to me. I'm dark and gypsy looking as it is, so it didn't really help you having to put sunscreen on before games. But I guess you adapt to the climate, you adapt to what it is. But if there was an option, I'm pretty sure most players would be like, yeah, I'll play over the winter.
Mm. You just touched on it, but I just want to bring up quickly the academy because I've seen you floating around there at Wanderers Football Park, IFA. They do a fantastic job, which obviously you're involved in. Can you tell us a bit more about that and what that and we mentioned before about selling players, but you're talking the first grassroots generation that you're sort of educating out there, and tell us a bit more about that and how you got into it, I suppose.
All right, well, I'll start even a bit back. It won't take too long. My business partner and I run one of the only sanctioned academies in New South Wales. It's called CBFI, Canada Bay Football Institute. It's in the Concord area. It is everything we do goes through Canterbury District, Football New South Wales, Football Australia. It just means a lot of paperwork, to be fair, but everything is sanctioned. Everything's done legitimately, insurance, all that. We have to do all that to be on that location, which we do Mondays and Wednesdays. And then we run our own private academy, which is called Stellar Football Academy, which is for the tournaments. And that just means less headaches. Again, my major sponsor is an insurance company because, again, if something happens, you have to have insurance, especially when it comes to kids, parents understanding that the kids are taken care of, any tragic can happen. So that's my little thing that I was always thorough on. And then obviously your product, which is football, which again kind of played it at a pretty decent level for me to kind of understand and what is needed, especially in Europe and even in Australia. So our programs are designed for football. Kids learning always on the ball from 8. We start from 6 to 12. We have more programs there, and then we have our 13 plus program, which is more for, I always say it's when the kid hits testosterone, they're not looking for a ticket type of football. They need conditioning, and that's where I thrived in. That was pretty much my whole career of just being that animal on the field. I never gave up, and that's what Australia was for me. Was always that you're not going to be technical because we never played on the streets, unlike overseas. And it was a different ball game of technique, but we had a never die attitude. So I think that's kind of been lost in a certain way. So our program from 13 plus is designed for that on a Monday night for more of those players. And then obviously now being in IFA, which has been running for the last 2 years, it was called Premier Academy League before that, but then it all changed, and it's a non-for-profit, which is massive. The guys that run it, they're all big businessmen. They're all volunteers, which I think people find hard to believe. It's all done because of the love of the game. And then on the field, you've got 2 main organisers. You've got ball boys. You've got referees. You've got head of referees. You've got absolutely everything that a league needs and does. And it's policed so well. Yeah. Because it's all about the kids playing football. It's not about how dumb the parent can look on the sideline. Yeah. And when parents do that, or coaches as well, you lose your temper. You get sanctioned, you get penalised, and you can get banned for life. And that's where it's just better policed. When you see those stupidity things on the sideline, and you're like, oh, that guy's going to get a slap on the wrist, or he might get 3 months. Oh no, you get banned for life. There's been a few already. It happens, but again, I say it's a minority. And if you stick it as a minority, when you have about 7,000 to 9,000 people going through those gates on a Sunday, and it's a very calm setting, considering how it can be, and not all academies are allowed. There's been academies that have been kicked out. Some have kicked themselves out because they don't want to listen to the rules. Yeah. There is a system that just implemented this year, which is all that one of the directors put in 150 grand of their own money to implement this system, where kids' name, date of birth, their face, everything's there. So if some coach feels being smart and tries to put them under 8s or 9s and they're 12 years old or 11 years old, which happens to win a game, it's policed. And as a director, as a coach, you cop it, which I love because everyone has to be held accountable for it. For sure. But again, I repeat, it's not for profit. So these guys, it's not a business. They don't make money out of it. It's all put back into the IFA, and it's probably the best all year round. I think it's only tournament that runs all year round, and it's run by a lot of us directors as advisory panels, and it's just I can't speak highly enough about it because it's so well structured, which is the way I like to do my academy, my business partners. So, mate, it's great and great competition.
It is great. I was just going to say, if you ever get a chance to go out there on a Sunday, when it's on, you'll see some unbelievable talent from the wee ages of 6, 7, 8 years old, the type of football that they play, and you can see that structure already getting developed into these boys, which for me is fantastic to see.
Adrian?
Daniel, first of all, I caught wind of that interview that you did with Champagne on Facebook, and first, before I ask you my question, I just want to say I thoroughly enjoyed that. Because seeing someone who's gone through football, I played overseas and whatnot, I think and footballers know, the mental side of football is the most difficult part of it, right? And for you to come out and say how, I can only compare it to myself because I had problems being a vocal person when shit hit the fan, all right? You were, to acknowledge something was going on and to just say, hey, listen to me, I've had enough of this shit, etc. And see and watch that I enjoyed that. Me personally, I thought it was really good, and I wish more footballers or ex-footballers spoke about the problems like that happen within football, because there are stories out there that some people wouldn't believe, right? So I thoroughly enjoyed that. My question is how over because I know after the later in your career you started the transition to coaching. How are you going with it mentally? The change from football from playing to now coaching, and what's the end goal? Do you want to go stay in juniors? Do you want to go first grade? Where do you want to go?
It's a good question. To be fair, when you play, you obviously it's a different mentality. It's a dog eat mentality. You're going for 3 points, and I think a lot of people. What frustrated me towards the end of my career, this new generation that don't understand what 3 points can mean. It's for me, 3 points in Croatia was getting paid. That's as funny as that sounds. If you didn't win, the owners were like, "We're not paying you." And you know, as weird as that sounds, that's what I was brought up with my young footballing career. But then here, just understanding that what 3 points can do, if you keep winning, you can get sold. You can go into a better club. You'll get paid. That's just the basic transition of football. If you're playing well in a good team, if you're not playing and you're in a good team, you've got to go and play. So I guess that understanding that every 6 months to a year, I know with Tony every year we'll analysing what the hell we should do or what not. It was always what can you thrive for more? What can you do more? What's the options? And then towards the end, obviously COVID had hit, and my wife just gave birth to our first son, our first child, sorry, and my whole mentality just changed, and I didn't want to play anymore. As simple as that sound, it was I prepared my body to be able to play, but mentally there's something that is stronger than anything else. When your brain says I don't want to do it, and I'm the type to say I'm not doing it, and I got an offer to play again. I said, I can't be bothered going for a run. So then it was like, okay, well, what are you going to do? And I just went, I don't know. I think you have to be man enough to say, I don't know. But I did my coaching C and B for shits and gigs. While I played, it was just had time to do it. So I did it. I enjoyed a lot of we used to do a lot of clinics and camps for each club. And I really enjoyed just playing with the kids, understanding the kids, and just having fun. So I looked at when I retired, I wanted to be as involved in my kids' lives as possible, not going to a 9 to 5 job. And my business partner came to me, Channel 10 came, and it kind of worked where I get to play with my kids or see my kids get older. They're only 4.5 and 2.5, but it was more of that. And the academy worked for me. And then I said, okay, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm putting all my eggs in one basket and saying I'm going to give this a crack. And now going into the transition of playing elite professional to understanding a kid can't kick with their best foot, I wanted to learn. I wanted to educate myself on how we can do that, how I can, as a coach, teach a kid the easiest, most fundamental way. And I remember my first year, we actually talked about it with my business partner the other day. I did a circuit training, which we're used to, you go over the ladders, you go over the hurdles, do a pass here, do this. And it was just like, this would be a good 40 minutes. I kid you not, the first 2 minutes, kids were kicking the hurdles over the fence, the balls were flying everywhere. And I went, what the hell am I doing? What do you just dumb it down? They need the absolute basics. My business buddies, I looked at you and I wanted to bash you so badly. Like, that's not what they need. Although you have to realize what you're used to has to go lower for them to understand the absolute basics. And I remember that clear as day, and you just progress, and you just remember in your career what made you where you are, but then what do the youth have nowadays? And we didn't have social media, so their YouTube and all that stuff. these little things that I've learned in my career that you probably, locked in the back of my head, kind of comes to me and be like, these kids are much more mature than when I was that age, so they will understand this. But if I can make them understand that football is such a good basic game, and if you can do it, it's enjoyable for me, it's enjoyable for them, it's enjoyable for the parents. And then the sky's the limit, because you don't guarantee anything in life, let alone football. I can't stand when we get you trolls every month, please. Don't. When we wake up every day, we're different, let alone a kid. We back in the day, 17-year-olds were quitting football because they were partying and driving. Now kids are 13 are getting burnt out. And that's the sad thing. So as much as parents want it, I give them an understanding of you have to be a kid, you have to relax. So me learning that and seeing what today's youth brings it into my parenting style with my kids, and to go, okay, what's out there? What do I expect? What to do? And it's all learning. And I would say, if you love something that you do, sky's the limit, because money can be made. But if you love what you do, that's probably the best formula there is. And I actually really love what I do. Yeah, some parents do my head in. Kids can annoy the crap out of me sometimes. But when I realise what I'm doing, I'm very lucky to do something that I've loved as a football player, and now do it, transition into this. And when you get to that kid and they got the smile on their face just as they were crying because they missed the goal or they made a mistake, and you just go, it's all right, keep your head up, keep it going. That little part there is, you can't describe it when a kid puts a smile on your face. It's the best thing. So that transition from that competitive cutthroat world to now dealing with kids and learning the business, it is a business, but you don't make it look like a business, because at the end of the day, you're dealing with people's kids, you're dealing with emotions, you're dealing with a lot of things. But I just enjoy what I'm doing, and I think that environment that I always will talk about, like the IFA, like what we do in our academies, man, I enjoy going there. And that's, for me, is the most rewarding thing. So I can actually say I'm just lucky. Like football, a lot of it is luck. Right place, right time, right mental state. And if it works, it works. If not, sorry, man, we live in a good country. You can always do something else.
Daniel, just we've got one quick question here from our live chat, just to quickly bring it in. Saying, I've got a son, 17 years old, who really wants to go overseas. Should he just go trial overseas, or should he just first try and make the A-League and make a name for himself here?
It's funny you say that. I've just started. We've been speaking to. We're calling it it's called the Italian Experience. That my business partner and I and some boys out, Max Vieri, Christian Vieri's brother, Tilio, and an agent over there, where kids that have been like myself weren't noticed, were good but were never picked. It's a new experience, and I know A-League clubs now are only going. I know Tony will probably say something, he would know more about it, but one agent I was speaking to said they're only picking kids from their academy. So even in NPL space, it's not as often as what you see. So this here, there's an agent attached. They're going to go train with Serie B clubs. It's on our website, Italian Experience, and it's something that we're doing now for the first time for September, where they train with a Serie B club and agents attached. And hopefully, if they like what they see and they've got an EU passport, there's an avenue to stay. Not like me when I just packed my bags and left and tried to learn the language and got gypped along the way. But times have changed.
Yeah.
And that's why with good people, it's something that hasn't been done, I would say, in Australia, where just one player can go and experience being part of a City B team, training, developing for 2 weeks, and then get analysed. And if they're good, they can get picked up. But again, it's an experience. It's more for them to say, am I really that good? Or you know what? I want to smash it and get there.
Daniel, always enjoyable having you. We love it. We love watching you on TV.
All night, brother. Look, I'll jump off.
The chat box is going off, mate. We even had people saying, mate, you look like one of the new kids on the block with that hairstyle. So, mate, no, we really enjoyed it. You gave us our time. I only got to you late this afternoon, and you always give me your time whenever I've asked you any time, so appreciate it. Good luck with the academy. Good luck with the second series. We'll be watching, and we always follow you, and we love what you're doing for the game, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you for having me me on, boys. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thanks,
mate.
Thank you.
See you.